Welcome back to Dark Corner Studios. My name is Aidan Wolf, and today we have the PodTrak P4. This is a Zoom product, and I do have to say it's one of the most intriguing pieces of equipment for podcasting that I've ever had the chance to play with. It's tiny, it's powerful, and it's cheap. And there's only one very minor issue that it has, but I doubt that's going to be a problem for anyone. But we'll talk about that in just a few. First, though, want to know, why does this thing even exist? I mean, really, Zoom, why? We'll answer that coming up.
This is Aidan Wolf.
I am going to reiterate it. This is one of the most intriguing pieces of gear that has come out for podcasting ever. It's small, it packs a massive punch, and that punch is kind of directed at the Rodecaster Pro. But as I sit here and admire this, I also don't quite understand it. I mean, if you're going to go through the stack of interfaces and recorders from Zoom, you've got the H4n, the H5, the H6, H8, LiveTrack L8, and now the PodTrak P4, and the upcoming P8. By the way, I do have a PodTrak P8 on the way, so if you want to check that out, get subscribed so you don't miss a thing. I think the most mind-blowing thing about their lineup, though, is the pricing. I mean, they've pretty much outpriced the competition and possibly are even outpricing themselves. How are they not cannibalizing their own sales? Now, I do have a few theories on this, but more on that in a bit. First, let's take a look at what this thing offers. The build quality, well, it's Zoom. Much like their handheld recorders in the L series, the P series is also this molded plastic. While it doesn't feel as premium as the H series, it's also not poor quality. The knobs and buttons are, well, fine. Very much in line with what you would expect from a Zoom product. These knobs are a bit smaller than the ones on the H series, though, and just have a touch of give to them. There is a little bit of movement on the XLR inputs as well, but nothing concerning. There are two ways to power it, with a spot for batteries, which will give you about 4 hours use with AA's, as well as a USB-C connection that can be used with a wall plug or a battery bank. Which, by the way, if you're running off battery power and you swap with a battery bank, nothing gets disturbed, meaning you can record as long as you want if you always have fresh batteries. That's a pretty sweet deal. Now, taking a look at the features, this thing has 4 mic inputs at the top with individually addressable phantom power, as well as having inputs 3 and 4 also available for phone calls. Yep, that means you can take up to 2 phone calls at a time with this thing, both of which have a mix-minus already programmed in. Also, I should mention that each of these microphone inputs is also sporting 70 dBs of gain, meaning you can pretty much push any mic with this thing, also a massive selling point. And just for reference, I'm recording with the gain set to 7. And this is what it sounds like. Let's push it up to 10. Below that, there is a huge feature that you won't know you need it until you actually do, but each channel can be muted while at the same time still being able to hear people on the call. Right below that, you have this black section of the unit. This is where all the business happens. You have 4 sound pads that can be programmed easily with any sound you want, or you can just roll with the 11 included sounds. It's pretty cool. And just below that, you have the volume control for the sound pads. Now, there's something to keep in mind. That volume is a universal control for all the sound pads, so you might want to make sure they're all rather similar in volume so you're not live mixing them. And then you have the usual Zoom screen. This is where you can really customize your options for recording, including a few effects for the inputs. You got a limiter, for all the yellers in your group, as well as a low-cut filter. Always good practice to go through and set it up each time before you hit record, though, as some of those features are not a default, like the mix minus. The screen also allows you to monitor your individual inputs, as well as a full stereo mix output. The transport buttons below that allow you to record and play back all the fun stuff, as well as directional buttons for when you're in the menus. Right below that, you'll find the monitoring section, and this is kind of cool. They have 4 individual headphone inputs with its own volume knob, a huge feature that is kind of unexpected at this price point. Then if you turn it over on the right side of the unit, you'll see the power button as well as 2 slots. Now the first one beside the power button will let you plug in a phone, and that will go through channel 3. Or you can get a Zoom BT-A-2 Bluetooth receiver and plug in both for a wireless call. And then on the other side, you have a USB connection that goes through channel 4, which allows all manner of things, including a second phone hookup. So, if you want an idea of how they sound, let's try them out by annoying my daughter. Hey, Ashley!
What do you want?
Hey, I'm just testing out this Zoom PodTrak P4. I just figured out, just check to see how the phone works. How you doing? Okay. All right, that's awesome. Okay, thank you, Ashley.
Okay.
Love you. She's such a joker. Keep in mind, there's also a link for your computer so you can transfer files off the SD card, or, if you like, use it as an interface. That's right, this thing actually works as an interface. Now here's the magic of this thing, and one possible downfall, perhaps. If you're recording to just the SD card, it records everything on its own channel, giving you full control of your audio in Multitrack. That is a full 10 tracks of recording all at once. That way you can edit your audio seamlessly in post. However, if you're just recording with this as an interface, it will only be a stereo mix of the whole board. This is a 2-in, 2-out connection with your computer or even your iOS or Android device, which is kind of cool. It means you can basically do it all. So then, why is this such an important piece of equipment? Why are people turning their heads at this? And is Zoom actually cannibalizing their own sales? I don't really think so. I think the L8 will eventually swing more to a musical preference, especially with the PodTrak P8 on the way. And frankly, while they may lose a couple sales of the LiveTrak L8 to the P8, it would seem there will just be an interface for everyone. And let's be honest, this thing does a lot of stuff that was never available at this price point before. The Mix Minus alone is one of the big ones. The ability to take 2 separate phone calls and easily record them in Multitrack. You've got 70 dB of gain, which up until recently was almost impossible to find without spending the extra bucks on cloud lifters or FET heads. Even the Rodecaster Pro only has 50 dB of gain. You also have the mute buttons on each line, the 4 headphone inputs with addressable levels on each, 10 tracks of Multitrack. I mean, I could go on. This thing is by far one of the smartest buys for anyone starting a podcast or even upgrading their setup. This thing could run your podcast for a long time without any need to upgrade, ever. So if you are one of those that couldn't justify the price of a Rodecaster Pro and perhaps you were a bit too overwhelmed with the LiveTrak L8, this is your unit. And to be honest, Zoom doesn't know it yet, but they're not getting it back. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, destroy the like button. Do it for me. But if you really like this video, maybe gently tap that other button and come along for the ride. Cheers, and I'll see you in the next video.